My friends, there is a secret to personal mastery that few ever discover. A quiet power that, once harnessed, can shield you from chaos, criticism, and defeat. It is the ability to act as if nothing bothers you. This is not arrogance. It is not denial. It is mental discipline, the armor of all those who rise above their circumstances. Let us walk together through 10 pillars of this principle. What you say to yourself becomes your reality. Every thought you repeat, every word you silently echo within, shapes the lens through which you see the world. If you whisper defeat in your own mind, if you indulge in worry, anger, or self-pity, then you will carry that posture into every action, every interaction. The mind is fertile ground, and it accepts whatever you plant, whether it be courage or fear, peace or agitation. To master life, you must first master the conversation within. Speak calm into your mind even when the world is loud. Whisper strength even when you feel uncertain. Say to yourself in the face of turmoil, I am greater than this moment. And your actions will begin to reflect that truth. Acting as if nothing bothers you is not about becoming emotionless. It's about rising above momentary emotion and choosing a higher response. It's about acknowledging the inner noise, the pressure, the insult, the setback. Then deciding not to let any of it steer your behavior. This takes its discipline. It requires to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to think before moving. But each time you choose composure over chaos, you reinforce your inner command. You teach the nervous system that you are in charge. And over time, you don't just act unbothered, you become unshakable. People often think strength is loud, aggressive, or forceful. But true power is silent, still, and deeply rooted. Like a tree that stands firm in the wind, your calm presence becomes your greatest weapon. You become the person in the room who doesn't flinch, who listens deeply, who holds their center no matter what is happening around them. Others begin to feel it. They sense something different in you, a presence, a power, a steadiness that can't be bought or borrowed. It only comes through the repeated choice to master yourself from the inside out. Of course, this doesn't mean pretending nothing ever goes wrong. Challenges will come. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. But your job is not to control the world. It's to control yourself. And when you can meet frustration with focus, insult with indifference, and delay with patience, you become untouchable, not because nothing affects you, but because you have trained your response. You have taught yourself to respond instead of react, to rise instead of retreat. So begin today. Choose the thoughts you allow. Speak words to yourself that build strength, not stress. Walk with the posture of one who answers only to his higher self, and the more you act as if nothing bothers you, the less you will be bothered. It is not fake. It is formative. It is the slow, steady shaping of a mind into steel. And when your mind is made of steel, no storm can shake you. Life will test you, not once, but over and over. The skies won't always be clear, and the path won't always be smooth. Difficulty is not a detour. It is part of the journey. It is in the storm that your character is revealed. Many people spend their lives trying to avoid discomfort, waiting for everything to be perfect before they make their move. But those who rise do not wait for calm. They learn to stand firm in the middle of chows. They prepare their mind before the winds arrive so that when the storm comes, they do not tremble. They respond. When you face adversity, the first instinct might be to panic or retreat. But the man who remains still in the face of pressure is often the most powerful one in the room. Not because he is numb or unfeeling, but because he has already decided who he will be no matter what happens around him. Stillness is not weakness. It is control. It is the quiet voice inside that says, I will not be moved by temporary noise. And when you can hold your ground without reacting to every disruption, you gain an edge that most people never develop. There is a certain presence that comes from calm under fire. It's magnetic. People can sense it without words. When everyone else is running, the one who remains steady becomes the leader, even if no title was ever given. The reason is simply in a storm, people look for anchors. If you can be that anchor, you become invaluable. Your presence gives others a sense of security, and strangely enough, your enemies feel that too. Those who wish to disturb you often grow frustrated when they cannot provoke you. Your silence and poise become a shield they cannot pierce. To reach this level of calm, you must rehearse it long before the storm arrives. You must make it a habit to pause when others react, to breathe when others shout, to listen when others rush to speak. This does not come overnight. It is built choice by choice, moment by moment. Each time you choose to stay centered when it would be easier to lash out, you reinforce your strength. And with time, this stillness becomes second nature. You no longer fake calm, you embody it. The world rewards those who do not flinch. In business, in relationships, in the pursuit of any worthy goal, the person who stays grounded in high-pressure moments gains trust, respect, and momentum. So, prepare for the storms, because they will come, but train yourself not to fear them. Instead, walk into the wind with your head high and your spirit unshaken. The world does not belong to those who panic. It belongs to those who persist with calm conviction. Be that person. Decide now, before the sky darkens, that no matter what happens, you will not be moved. Your face is the first page people read before you even speak. Every flicker of doubt, frustration, or insecurity writes itself across your expression if you don't learn to control it. In a world where perception often becomes reality, those who carry their emotions plainly often hand over their power without knowing it. When your face shows every fear or irritation, you become transparent and vulnerable to manipulation. But when you master your expression, when you can smile softly, hold a steady gaze, and remain composed, you shift the balance. You no longer react on display. You begin to direct the energy in the room rather than absorb it. This doesn't mean you bury your emotions or pretend to be someone you're not. It means you become selective about what you show and when you show it. Emotional control is not the absence of feeling. It's the discipline of choosing how and when to express it. A composed face does not mean a cold heart. It means a trained mind. You might feel shaken inside, but on the outside, you remain unshaken. You present stability even when circumstances try to pull you off center. And in doing so, you give yourself the space to think clearly and respond wisely. People trust those who appear composed. They follow those who seem certain, even when things are uncertain. Your facial expression becomes a tool of influence, a silent language that says, I am in control. In negotiations, in leadership, even in conflict, the person who doesn't reveal their emotional turbulence holds the advantage. Others begin to adjust themselves around your calm, while those who are emotionally reactive lose credibility. It is not deception. It is strategy. You are not hiding who you are honoring who you are becoming. Every moment you practice this discipline, you send a message to your subconscious use. I lead my emotions, they do not lead me. This internal message, repeated and reinforced, begins to shape a stronger identity. You don't need to raise your voice or show your frustration to be taken seriously. In fact, the more calm and consistent you appear, the more seriously people take you. Power often speaks quietly. True confidence doesn't need to perform. It simply is. So train yourself. Start with the mirror. Learn to hold your eyes with presence, to rest your face in stillness, to greet tension with quiet authority. Make your expression one of peace and control, regardless of what's happening outside. Because once you've mastered your face, you've mastered the first battlefield. And the man who cannot be read cannot be shaken. There will always be opinions, criticisms, and judgments thrown in your direction. People will offer their commentary on your life, your choices, your voice, even when they've never walked a day in your shoes. If you allow their words to reach deep into your mind and alter your emotional state, then you've surrendered control. You've handed over your power to someone who hasn't earned the right to influence you. That is a high price to pay for fleeting validation or shallow approval. The moment you allow someone's comments to steer your mood, you give them ownership of a piece of your mind. Understand that criticism is often more about the critic than it is about you. People speak from their own fears, limitations, and experiences. Their opinions are colored by their insecurities and shaped by their failures. When you understand this, you stop taking things personally. You realize that not every remark deserves your energy. Not every voice deserves your attention. And certainly not every opinion is worth sacrificing your peace. Remaining unaffected is not indifference. It's clarity. You see what matters and what does not. The strongest minds are not loud or boastful. They are steady. They nod at criticism, not because they accept it, but because they refuse to wrestle with it. They are too focused on their destination to be distracted by every passerby's comment. They are driven not by applause or approval, but by vision. That kind of focus comes from within. It comes from building a sense of worth that is not negotiated or voted on. When you walk through the world with that kind of inner confidence, outside opinions bounce off. They do not penetrate. This doesn't mean you stop listening altogether. Sometimes criticism carries wisdom, but you must learn to filter. Consider the source, weigh the intent, and if there's value, use it. If not, release it. But never let a careless comment shake your belief in who you are. Protect your mind like a fortress. Your peace is too valuable, your purpose too great to be derailed by passing voices. Elevate your standards for what deserves your emotional reaction. Make it your habit to stay grounded regardless of the noise. Whether praised or criticized, walk forward with the same quiet confidence. Let your direction speak louder than their opinions. The world is full of voices trying to steer you, but only you decide your course. And when you learn to stay calm and purposeful in the face of both praise and disapproval, you prove to yourself that no one holds your power but you. That is real strength. That is freedom. In the heat of the moment, when tempers rise or circumstances shift without warning, the natural urge is to react instantly. We want to defend ourselves, strike back, explain, justify, or control what's unfolding. But this instinct, though human, is often the source of regret. In those split seconds, words can be said that cannot be unsaid, decisions can be made that unravel progress, and opportunities can be lost to emotion. That is why the ability to pause is a mark of maturity and power. It is the decision to step back from the edge before you act, to give your better self a chance to speak first. The pause is not weakness. It is the gateway to wisdom. When you take even a brief moment to stop, breathe, and observe your own reaction, you give yourself a tremendous advantage. You shift from being a servant of impulse to a master of choice. That space between stimulus and response is where growth happens. It is where discipline is forged. And it's in that space that you build the future version of yourself. Calmer, clearer, more effective. Those who rush to react are often controlled by emotion. Those who pause first are controlled by purpose. Pausing allows you to see things as they are, not as they feel in the heat of the moment. It gives you time to ask, is this worth my energy? What outcome do I truly want here? How can I respond without betraying my character? These questions cannot be answered in the middle of a reaction. They can only be heard in stillness. And once you begin practicing this habit, you start seeing it as a form of self-respect. You stop letting external events decide who you will be today. Instead, you make that choice consciously. This pause also becomes a tool in leadership and influence. People who do not react immediately are often seen as more stable, more thoughtful, and more trustworthy. They carry weight in their silence. Their words, when they do speak, land with greater force because they are not thrown carelessly. They are delivered with intention. This kind of presence draws people in, calms tense situations, and commands respect without demanding it. It becomes a quiet signal that you are not ruled by emotion. You are guided by principle. Over time, the pause becomes more than a strategy. It becomes who you are. You become the person who doesn't flinch under pressure, who doesn't let noise shake the foundation. And with each calm response, your confidence grows. Not because life gets easier, but because you've learned to govern yourself no matter what life throws at you. That more than any external success is the true mark of strength. The world may throw fire, but you've mastered the space before the flame touches you. There will be moments when the world spins wildly around you, moments filled with noise, pressure, and urgency. You'll see people scramble, panic, lash out, or shut down. But in those very moments, a rare kind of person stands apart, the one who remains centered. That person becomes the still point in a turning world. They are not detached from reality, nor are they indifferent to what's happening. Rather, they've trained themselves to stay rooted in clarity while everything else seems unstable. And because they do not get swept up in the frenzy, they become a source of stability for others. This stillness is not natural at first. It is built. It comes from choosing again and again not to be ruled by emotion or urgency. While others are driven by fear, ego, or chaos, the calm person makes decisions from a deeper place. They are not easily provoked. They do not speak simply to be heard. Their silence is not absence, it is presence. It is awareness, listening, discernment. The calm person may bend under the weight of pressure, but like the oak tree, they do not break. They absorb the wind, but they do not get blown off course. Being calm in chaos is not weakness. In fact, it is the opposite. It requires immense strength to keep your head when others are losing theirs. Anyone can panic. Panic is easy. But to stay grounded, to think clearly, to respond deliberately when everything around you feels urgent, that is a sign of inner mastery. It means you have trained your nervous system to obey your vision, not your surroundings. It means you have anchored yourself so deeply in your values that no storm can uproot you. This kind of presence has power. People notice it even if they don't know what they're seeing. In meetings, in conflict, in crisis, you will be the one they turn to. Not because you're louder or more aggressive, but because you carry certainty in your stillness. Your energy tells them here is someone who is not reacting blindly, someone who has chosen their response. And that presence often influences outcomes more than words or force ever could. So be the one who listens while others shout. Be the one who thinks while others panic. Be the one who remains calm, not because life is easy, but because you have decided to be unshaken. Let the world do what it does. Spin, shout, shift. You remain steady, because in that stillness lies your power, and in that power lies your peace. The mind is a powerful tool, but it must be directed with intention. It accepts what you feed it, and whether that input is truth or fiction, it responds as if it were real. This is why imagination is more than idle daydreaming. It is rehearsal. When you visualize yourself moving through pressure with calm, grace, and clarity, you are not just thinking about the future. You are training your mind to believe it is possible. The brain forms neural patterns based on what it sees, and when those patterns are repeated, they become your instinct. So instead of imagining worst-case scenarios, imagine yourself unshaken. Close your eyes and picture a version of you who handles conflict without losing composure, who walks into rooms with quiet confidence, who is unaffected by distractions and anchored in purpose. Don't just see it, feel it. Hear the sound of your own steady voice. Feel your calm breath in the midst of tension. Watch yourself choosing peace over reaction. The clearer the image, the stronger the effect. Your mind begins to believe this is who you already are. It starts aligning your actions to match the version of you that you've been feeding it. This practice is not just mental. It shows up in the physical world. When you visualize strength consistently, you begin to walk differently, speak differently, respond differently. The hesitation, doubt, and anxiety that once gripped you start to lose their hold. You've replaced them with a mental model of excellence and composure. Over time, you no longer need to visualize. It becomes your natural way of being. But even when it's automatic, the practice remains a tool to return to when life tests your balance. People often overlook the power of imagination in personal transformation because it feels intangible. But some of the most disciplined and focused individuals in the world, athletes, leaders, creators, use it daily. They see their success before they live it. They walk through their challenges mentally before they face them in real life. They've trained to recognize strength and to reject fear. You can do the same. Start small. Visualize the next conversation, the next challenge, the next moment where you choose peace over panic. Play it in your mind until it becomes familiar. When you learn to train your mind with scenes of strength, your life begins to reflect what you've rehearsed. The noise of the world doesn't shake you because Your inner world is already rooted. You've walked through the fire 1,000 times in your imagination, so when the heat comes for real, you're ready. And when people wonder how you stay so composed, they won't realize that you've already lived that moment and mastered it long before it arrived. Every day, the world will present situations designed to provoke you. Rude remarks, delays, unfair treatment, unexpected problems. These are not accidents. These are invitations. Each challenge is an opportunity to demonstrate who you truly are. When you are tempted to react in frustration, stop and remember this is your moment to perform. Not for applause, not for ego, but for discipline. The greatest strength is often shown not in dominance, but in restraint. When the pressure rises, let your response become a performance of mastery. Let others see the difference between those who are ruled by emotion and those who are led by purpose. Smile when it would be easier to scowl. Speak slowly when others are rushing to argue. Walk calmly when the room is tense. This doesn't mean you are blind to what's happening. It means you've chosen not to be lowered by it. Every time you hold your composure when it would be easier to react, you teach yourself that you are in control. It's not about pretending to be unaffected. It's about proving to yourself that nothing outside of you decides how you move. That is power. That is performance. And it is a power few possess because it requires the highest level of self-respect. This kind of performance isn't showmanship. It's integrity in motion. It's acting in alignment with your principles even when your instincts scream otherwise. People who react impulsively are predictable and easy to manipulate. But when you make your emotions submit to your mission, you become untouchable. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to fight to be strong. You show your strength in your silence, in your poise, in your ability to stay steady while others lose balance. That is the quiet language of power. When you treat pressure as performance, you raise your standard. You stop playing the same game as everyone else. You turn confrontation into poise, criticism into clarity, tension into a test of grace. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You begin to look forward to these moments because you understand something others don't. They're not setbacks, they're stages. Each one gives you a new chance to refine the way you carry yourself, to sharpen your self-command, and to live as a clear example of who you've chosen to become. Eventually, people will notice. They may not always understand it, but they will feel it. Your presence will change rooms. Your calm will quiet storms. And not because you forced it, but because you rehearsed it. You've decided that your character will be louder than your mood, that your principles will speak before your pride. That's what it means to turn provocation into performance. Not for the world's approval, but for your own evolution. You don't just act calm, you become it. In a world driven by noise, silence has become a rare and powerful force. Most people feel the urge to speak quickly, to defend, to correct, to prove. But those who are truly in control of themselves do not need to rush into every conversation. They know that silence carries a weight that words often cannot. It is not the absence of thought. It is the presence of intention. When you choose silence, you are not forfeiting the moment. You are taking ownership of it. You are saying, I will not be dragged into reaction. I will speak when it matters, not when I'm provoked. The one who listens while others argue commands a different kind of respect. This person doesn't speak just to fill space or win a point. They speak when they have something meaningful to add. And because they don't waste words, those around them listen more carefully when they finally do speak. Their silence sharpens their presence. It forces others to consider their own noise, to question their own assumptions. And in that quiet, different kind of influence takes root, not the influence of volume, but the influence of precision and calm. Silence also gives you time to think. While others are reacting emotionally, you are collecting data, reading the situation, understanding the deeper truth behind the moment. This doesn't just make you appear wiser, it makes you more effective. You're not caught up in proving a point, you're focused on achieving an outcome. You're not driven by ego. You're guided by vision. That's why silence is often misunderstood. People assume it means you're passive or weak. In reality, it's a sign of inner strength, of a person so grounded that they don't need constant affirmation to stay sure of themselves. There's a discipline to silence that builds confidence over time. The more you practice it, the more you realize that most situations don't require your reaction. You don't need to engage every challenge or explain yourself to every critic. Your energy is too valuable to be spent on proving your worth to people who are not even listening. Instead, let your presence do the speaking. Let your actions, your consistency, and your focus deliver the message. Silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you're saving your voice for when it counts, so speak less, observe more. Let silence become your shield and your strategy, not because you fear conflict, but because you've mastered the timing of your voice. Speak only when your words will improve the silence, when they will bring clarity, strength, or direction. Anything less is noise. And the one who rises above the noise, the one who waits with patience and responds with purpose, will always lead, even in a room full of louder men. Character is not something you are born with, nor is it something handed to you with time. It is built moment by moment, choice by choice. It is a decision, one that must be made repeatedly, especially when life offers every excuse not to. You don't stumble into strength. You choose it. You decide who you will be when things don't go your way, when people test your patience, when the pressure mounts and nothing feels certain. That decision, made consistently over time, becomes the foundation of who you are. And from that foundation, you build a life not easily shaken. You do not need to wait until you feel ready to be calm, focused, or unbothered. If you wait until the emotions pass, you've already given them control. The truth is, you can feel anger and still choose patience. You can fear and still act with courage. You can feel the pull of reaction and still choose to stay composed. That is what separates those who lead themselves from those who are led by circumstances. They act not because they are untouched by emotion, but because they are not ruled by it. That is the power of conscious character. Each day brings you the same opportunity to be shaped by what happens to you or to shape yourself in the face of it. No one escapes challenge. No one walks through life without disappointment, setbacks, or emotional storms. But those who develop strong character don't seek to escape those moments. They seek to rise through them, and they do so by deciding ahead of time who they are, and then living in alignment with that decision. It doesn't make them perfect, but it does make them consistent. And consistency in your character builds trust, both with others and within yourself. The decision to act as if nothing bothers you is not denial. It's dominance over your own inner world. It says, I may feel the pressure, but I do not crumble. I may feel frustration, but I do not react recklessly. I may feel uncertainty, but I do not abandon my values. This is not an act for others. It is a commitment to yourself, a standard, a way of walking through the world that doesn't rely on what happens, but on who you've chosen to be no matter what happens. That's not just character, that's leadership from the inside out. So start now. Choose who you will be before the moment tests you. Practice being that person in small ways, when things are quiet, when no one's watching, when the stakes are low. Then, when the pressure comes, you won't need to pretend. You'll already be trained. Calm will not be a mask. It will be your nature. And while others are trying to react their way to control, you will have already decided. You are not waiting for peace to find you. You've become the kind of person who brings peace with him. That's the power of choosing your character before the world demands it.